Hello everybody, SC Rich Enough here. Welcome back to another Minecraft PS5 add-on showcase. Today we're checking out the very cool Spellbook add-on. So, before we get too into it, let me just explain the base concept. So, we'll go to the guidebook first. So basically, this tells you everything you need to know about what you're doing. With the spellbooks, it tells you how to get through the spellbooks, and there is a mana system with the spellbooks, which I'll show you in just a second. Um, it also tells you how to craft all of the different items you'll need, including the mana potion, which is very useful because, so basically when you crouch, as you can see, I have a mana bar. Whenever I cast spells, it'll use up that mana, and normally it just slowly regens, so unless you don't want it to slowly regen and take forever, you gotta use the mana potion. So, without further ado, and just kind of in a random order, let's start left to right, and let's look through all the different spell books. So first up is the Arcane book, which is like your general wizard's book. So let's check out the first spell, which is Arcane Bolts. So if you see a spell has a number next to it, like that, 2 to 4, that means if I hold it down and charge it, it'll do more damage. So over here I have a dispenser that spawns in some targets for us. So this is what it's like if I don't charge it at all. Just sends out like a magic invisible attack at him, right? But if I hold it and charge it, which by the way it charges is you'll see the spell changing and the thing spinning, and once it stops spinning, it's fully charged. Whoa! Oh my god. I just sent that guy to the moon. Okay, so as you can see, that costed some of our mana. So the second spell in the Arcane Book is Blink, which is like a teleporty spell. It is not a spell you can charge up, so you can just kind of could be kind of fun, you know, quick get around, dodge an attack or something, you know, something like that. Next up is Polymorph. This one I like a lot. So you let me drink a mana potion so my mana's back up to normal. Hiya! So it turns any mob in front of you into a chicken. Let's just kill that chicken, get him out of here. I think that one's funny. Oh, a lot of these spells hit like multiple enemies at once. It's just based on who's in front of you. So this one's cool. Arcane Explosion, right? You go, hiya! It costs a lot of mana, right? But you do this animation, and then you explode like fire and magic in an area around you that does a bunch of damage. And then there's Arcane Ward, which summons this like thing, which I think blocks ranged attacks and other spells. I'm not quite sure how it works, but that's how I think it works. Let's just grab a sword so we can kill any mobs we need to. Okay, so that was the Arcane spellbook. I think that one's pretty fun. Next up, we'll check out the Druid book. Let me put the glass bottle away in my inventory. So the first spell in the Druid book, which I'll show you here. Oh, to change spells, you just crouch and click L2. So the first spell is called Wolf, which you go boom, and it summons wolves that are immediately hostile to any mob nearby that isn't you. And after a short period, if we watch them here, they will disappear. Yep. Next up is Shapeshift Rabbit. I love these spells. So if you left click, I am now a rabbit. So I get the abilities of a rabbit. I can jump super high. I can run super fast. But if you die as the rabbit, or if you crouch, you go back to yourself. There is also, okay, so yeah, let me just show you. If I crouch, it cancels the spell. So next up is the bat, which is the same thing except I am now a bat that can fly. So you can fly with this as the bat, which I think is cool. So let me transform back. So if we watch our mana bar here, you'll see it very slowly fills up on its own. That's why you want to keep the potions on hand. I keep accidentally casting the spells. Oops. So Entangling Vine, this one's a cool one. You use it on an enemy, and it summons these vines that do damage, and poison damage and stuff. And it affects like a little area, which I think that one's neat. Could be very useful. And then Sacred Seed, this one summons in a tree that gives you and nearby mobs regeneration, which I think is cool. So it's like this little tree, and it goes away after a couple seconds. So that was the Druid Spellbook. Next up is the Earth Book. So let's see here. The first spell in the Earth Book is Stone Fists. This one's cool, and it can be charged up. So on a tap, it sends out like those huge exploding rocks. But you can also charge this one, I think. Let's see. It seemed to be about the same. Maybe you can't charge that one. Yeah, you can't. My bad. I thought you could, but I was mistaken. So the next one is Entomb. I like this one. This one's cool. So you use that, and you literally just trap the enemy in a bunch of rocks, and then fling them into the air afterwards too. So that one's cool. Stone Body's pretty simple. It just gives you jump boost and absorption. I think maybe that's the one that gives you more health. So you get this cool earth jump effect, and more health. So that one's pretty neat. Stalactite drop. This one's cool. So if I use this, it summons a giant stalactite that does a bunch of damage and stabs people in the head, which is cool. It also does break blocks, so you got to be careful with that one. Earthquake, this one's cool. You use it, and in a wide area around you, you just do a bunch of earthquake damage, and you give yourself resistance. So that one's like a AoE spell. And yeah, that's the Earth spell book. So let's check out the next one. The next one is the Fire book. So let's check that out. So the first ability is the Fireball, which this one can be charged. So on a base use, shoots out a giant fireball like that, right? But if I charge it, I don't know why I was crouching there. So if I charge it and shoot it, the fireball is way bigger and does more damage, and has a larger AoE effect. So the next one is Fire Wall, which if I do this, puts down a wall of fire. So that one's purely defensive, but still cool. The next one is Flame Geyser, which sends out these 3 flame pillars that slowly send out flame. But what's cool is, yeah, after a couple seconds they break and all the fire goes away. So let's try that closer to the villager. And then after a couple seconds it breaks and goes away, which I think is cool. Let's drink our mana potion. So next is Inferno. This one's neat. This one's you go hiya, and you summon this big flame area around yourself, and you give yourself fire resistance. And any mobs caught in it will be caught on fire. So it doesn't do any damage to you, and it damages nearby mobs, and it gives you fire resistance for a couple seconds. Now the last one I think is cool is Volcano, which summons a volcano that sets nearby mobs on fire and explodes them, and then it goes away after a couple seconds like all the other ones, which I think is cool. So that was the Fire spell book. Next up is the Light book, which I think this one's neat, and we'll set it to nighttime just to help demonstrate. So the first spell is the Light Orb, which you just click, summons an orb of light that actually glows and lights up the nearby area, and it lasts for a good 30 seconds or so. The first offensive spell is the Sword of Light, which summons this giant sword from the heavens to stab an enemy, which I think is cool. The next one is Luminous Arrow, which shoots these little arrows out, right? But if you hit a enemy with them or get near them, it puts this little spike above their heads so you can see them better. Next up is the Solar Burst, which looks like this. You send out a wave that blasts enemies back and does damage, which I think is pretty cool. It's like a little energy beam or something, And then the final one is Celestial Wave, which is you send it out like that, and it's a giant explosion that does AoE damage. See that again there, show you guys again. So that's the light book, which I think is pretty cool. It has some cool spells in them. I think all the spell books in this add-on are actually really neat in their own way. They all have their own cool spells. So this one's one of my favorites, the Necro book. I showed this off in the intro a little bit. So the first spell in this one is Skeleton Army, which this one can be charged up. So what you do is I'm going to show you guys what it looks like fully charged up. If you don't fully charge it up, you get less skeletons pretty much. But you use it, and it summons in these tiny skeletons that shoot nearby enemies. Obviously, sometimes they'll shoot each other on accident, and then you get this infighting. But you get these tiny little skeletons that don't burn during the day, and they attack all nearby things that aren't you, right? So that one's cool. The next one is Undead Horde, which is pretty much the same thing, except zombies, and it can also be charged up, just like the previous one. So this one summons in like giant zombies that again are hostile to everything except you. So as you can see, they're chasing down the villager over there. They kill him, and after a couple seconds, they'll go away. But the next spell I want to show you is really cool, is Corpse Explosion. So the way that works is I actually have to summon in my minions first, right? I have my zombies. Now quickly switch to Corpse Explosion and use it. It makes them grow a big head like that, and then after a couple seconds they explode and do nearby damage. This one can also be charged, making the explosion bigger and do more damage, which I think is cool. Death Ward, which is takes up all your mana. You use it, and you instantly get death protection and a Totem of Undying. So, you know, you time that right, you can have infinite lives, pretty much. Um, and the last one is Death Coil, which is similar to the other one we saw, which it sends out this, like, beam attack that explodes after a couple seconds. And like a wide AoE that does a bunch of damage and stuff. So that's the what is this? The Necro book, which I think is pretty cool. You know, you literally become a necromancer and you can summon your own little minions and stuff. I think it's fun. The Shadowmancer book, this one's pretty cool too. I like this one. So the first one is Shroud of Shadows, which is very simple. Just makes you invisible for like a good like 20 seconds, I think. The next one is Darkness, which it is you attack enemies with. So I use that, and it summons this little area around them, and it gives them the blindness and darkness effect. So while that is going on, they can't see. Obviously, you know, doesn't really do much to a villager, but, you know, could be handy in other ways. The next one is Shadow Shot, which you literally just shoot out this orb of shadow that attacks nearby enemies, which I think is cool. It does do damage to blocks nearby too, which is interesting. So next up after Shadow Shot is Emon Tendrils, which is literally you just summon these like evil little darkness tendrils out of the ground to grab and damage enemies and poison them as well. And then up next is my favorite, which is Dash Attack. So the way this one works is you literally summon a Wither Skeleton with an Ender Pearl, and he just teleports to the closest enemy and cuts them up and then disappears, which I think is funny. It's like a shadow clone jutsu thing or something, you know? So that was the Shadowmancer book. We only got 2 left. So this is the Water book, which I think is, I think all of them, like I said, are cool in their own right. So the first spell in this one is Tidal Wave, which literally just sends forward like this giant wave. It doesn't do damage, and it stops on contact with mobs or blocks, but, you know, still could be very useful during a combat. You never know. Ice Double, this one's funny. So you literally summon like an ice copy of yourself, and you teleport and switch places, which is a snow golem. So nearby enemies will attack this thing instead of you, basically, and then after a couple seconds it goes away. Next is Water Jet. So this one is simple. You just go, hey-ah, and you shoot out a Water Jet bubble attack, which, you know, does a bunch of damage and explodes a bunch of bubbles everywhere, which I think is cool looking. Ice Lance, this one can be charged. This is probably one of the stronger spells. You got to be careful with this one because this one can damage nearby blocks. So let me show you what it looks like fully charged. It's a good thing the villager's backing up because I don't want to blow up the dispenser. So you shoot it, and it shoots out a giant block of ice and gives you speed, which I think is cool. So I'll have to fix this hole later on, but, you know, just to show you, that one's pretty powerful. Not only does it do a bunch of damage, but, you know, it explodes nearby stuff. And obviously, the less charged version is smaller and does less damage. Water's Embrace gives you this giant area around you that sends enemies flying into the air and gives you fire resistance, which I think is cool. And I'm pretty sure that's the last spell in this one. Yep. And then we're on the last book now, which is the Air book, which I think is also again cool in its own way. I like all the books in this. Although there's not too many spells, I think it's a very cool idea for an add-on, and I'm excited to see what they do with it in the future. So the first one is Zephyr Jump, which you literally just use it, and it gives you a super jump. Pretty simple, self-explanatory. Cyclone, this one's cool. So you okay, it's still giving me the jump effect, but you shoot out a cyclone that sucks up enemies into it, which I think is cool, like a literal little tornado, and then it does a bunch of damage to them. Wind tunnel, this one's pretty similar, except what it does is it's higher up, so it's like a just shoots them up into the air and damages them sort of thing. In comparison to like grabbing them. Air defense, this one's interesting. So this shoots out like a wall, which I'm pretty sure that knocks back projectiles and stuff that are flying at you. Although I haven't tested that, so don't take that for, word for certain. So the last one is lightning strike, which as you can guess, summons in lightning on enemies. The more charged up it is, the stronger the lightning is, and more you get more of it basically. So here, let me show you what that looks like. Oh. So that was the Spellbook add-on, which adds in, as you can see, 10 different very cool spellbooks into your world that you can craft and then, destroy mobs with and use to get around your world more, and just, it's cool. I think it's neat. So anyways, if you guys did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing, and a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of this add-on. It is on the marketplace. It is one of the add-ons that you do have to buy, although I think every add-on that I've reviewed on this channel and every add-on in general is usually worth the price you're paying for it. So don't worry about that. But consider checking out this add-on in the Minecraft Marketplace, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said earlier, consider liking and subscribing. If you're already subscribed, then consider turning on notifications so you don't miss an upload, or joining the Discord or Patreon so you can become a bigger part of the community and chat with me and other members. You guys get the idea. Anyways, I will see you all in the next one, whether that is a live stream, a video, a YouTube short, or even a TikTok. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all in the next one.